Hey there folks, welcome back to the Photo Video Show where we explore all things photography. I'm your host Mark Puckett. So, this is part 2. We're going to be doing some more FilmConvert today. So earlier I went outside and I took some different video footage of a few different lighting scenarios and situations. If you haven't watched the first part of this video yet, be sure to go check that one out and get your camera exactly the way you need it to be before you go out and you begin shooting. And if you've already done that, then there's no better time than now to go ahead and get started. So some of you might be asking yourself what all this has to do with FilmConvert. Well, that's just kind of the point. Most people think that they just take some footage, doesn't matter what kind it is, and that if they don't do any kind of planning or any kind of anything, that they can just import it into your editor, apply a little effect, and then bam, it just looks amazing. That's not the case. Please don't ever think that doing video or any kind of video work is easy, because it's not. You do have to put some thought into it. You do have to put some work into it. And I want to try and eliminate a lot of extra questions after the fact. So do what's right in the beginning. I mean, if you've ever heard the old saying, crap in, crap out, well, that stands true with just about everything, including video. So if you get your settings right and you take the right kinds of footage and you use the right types of cinematography, you will quite literally transform a piece of video into something that is truly beautiful and amazing. So on this particular shot, I've got just an old alley cat in frame. Looks like he's having a grand old time. And I've got this thing set to 1/50th of a second. I'm rocking it at an f8.0. So we ought to have him extremely sharp. Everything about this particular cat should perfectly be in focus. I've got the ISO set to 100, and as you can see there on the exposure meter, we are perfectly exposed. And again, I'm using the X-AVCS codec, 24 frames per second, and this video is going to be at a bit rate of 50 megabits per second. So this video ought to be good to go. So the main thing that you guys want to try and keep in mind here is that when you're using your camera, it's just like with photography and shooting in RAW. RAW doesn't do any in-camera processing whatsoever, so that you can be fully in control of that image at the end. So when you use an extremely neutral picture style and you use the settings to reduce the contrast, the sharpness, and the saturation, you bring all that down. The camera is still going to record that data. You're going to retain that information. It's going to look like hell inside your viewfinder or on the monitor. That's not what counts. You want to just have the camera capture the data, and then you want to be in control of manipulating that data. Alright, so on this piece of footage, I'm basically using these flowing leaves to kind of allow the camera to autofocus between what was in the background and these leaves that are in the foreground. A lot of times, some of those cheaper filters will really start to kind of break down depending on the type of motion that it's going to be experiencing. So, okay, so in this frame, I've picked a purposefully contrasty shot to kind of give you an idea of how deep the camera can actually see into the shadows, even when it's properly exposed for the highlights and everything. When you have that dynamic range optimizer turned on with all the proper settings, you really can see quite well into the shadows and also retain some detail in the highlights. You can get a lot more dynamic range if you use a much flatter picture style. Artificially overly contrasting the image, it's not going to work out very good for you in post. So you want it to be as flat as possible, so that if you do have some bright spots or you do have some extremely dark spots in your video, you can easily deal with those files in post, and you should be able to still get some really awesome shots. So there you have it. There you go. If you have any comments or questions, please leave those down in the comment section below. And also, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up to let me know that you appreciated the content. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. At any rate, thanks again for stopping here at the Photo Video Show. I'm your host, Mark Puckett. I'll see you guys again in the next one.